Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about patterns with decimals. And our learning target is for you to be able to identify, describe, and create numeric patterns with decimals. We are mainly going to be focusing on identifying patterns with decimals and describing patterns with decimals in this video. And then in class, we're going to be talking more about creating numeric patterns with decimals. The first thing I want you to do is to write into your math journal these two terms because we're going to be using these terms while we're talking in this video. The first is sequence. What is a sequence? A sequence is an ordered list of numbers. So the important thing to see here is that it is, well, first of all, a list of numbers, but it's also in order. That doesn't mean it's from least to greatest. It doesn't have to be counting up. Sometimes it's actually going from greatest to least as well. But it's in the correct order. The second term you need to put down is term, and that in this case is referring to each number in a sequence. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be identifying missing terms. So you're going to have to look at a sequence and be able to find a missing term that would fit the pattern of that sequence. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our first question. It is a word problem, but don't let that scare you. Our first problem says a state park rents canoes for guests to use at the lake. It costs $5 to rent a canoe for 1 hour, $6.75 for 2 hours, $8.50 for 3 hours, and $10.25 for 4 hours. If this pattern continues, how much should it cost Jason to rent a canoe for 7 hours? When we're looking at a problem like this, one of the first things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put all of our numbers into a sequence. So we're going to go ahead and I already have that down here. So we have $5, which is represented of 1 hour. We have $6.75, which is the 2-hour rate. $8.50, which is the 3-hour rate, and $10.25, which is the 4-hour rate. So as you can see, I'm putting them in from least to greatest because in this problem, the prices are going up. So what am I trying to find? What's the question asking me? The question is saying if this pattern, okay, we have a pattern going on here, continues, how much should it cost Jason to rent a canoe for 7 hours? So we know how much it costs for 1, 2, 3, and 4 hours, but we want to know how much it costs for 7 hours. So that means we're going to have to go in and we're going to have to find not just the next term, okay? That's not going to be enough because that's only 5 hours. We're going to want to go up to 6 hours and then even further to 7 hours. So we're going to have to find several terms in order to find the answer to our question. Now, how do I find what the pattern is? The first thing you want to do is you're going to want to find the difference between each of these terms. Okay, so what's the difference between, let's say, $10.25 and $8.50? What's the difference? When I'm using the term difference, what operation should you use? If I'm trying to find the difference between these two terms, what operation am I going to use? Well, I hope you said subtraction because that is what we're going to use. So let's say we're going from $8.50 all the way to $10.25. The 3-hour rate to the 4-hour rate. Well, what's the difference there? What's the pattern that's happening? What I can do is I can take $10.25 and subtract $8.50 to find how much was added to increase the rate. So go ahead and take 10, and I'm not going to use a dollar sign because it's not really necessary. Just because it has dollar signs, these are still the exact same as any other decimal problem that we've done already. And I'm going to subtract $8.50. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract. I'm going to start off by subtracting my smallest place value. Ooh, and something I almost forgot. When we're subtracting or adding decimals, we always line up the decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and just put my decimal right down here so I don't forget about it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do our hundredths place first. 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 take away 5 is, well, we can't do that. So what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to regroup. So I'm going to look at the next place value, the next largest place value, which is the ones place. But there's a 0 there. There's nothing there, so we can't take anything from the ones place. So I'm going to go to even the next place value, which is a 1. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to basically say, okay, I'm going to take 1, because I do want something from the ones place, but I'm going to take 1 away from 10. Well, taking 1 away from 10 would leave us with 9. So that's what we're going to put here in the place of the 10. When we regroup the 10, we took that 1 away and we're going to add it to our 2 here to make it a 12. So we're going to take 12 and now I can subtract. So 12 minus 5 is 7. And then I'm going to go to the ones place to subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. So now is the point where I can go back and add in my dollar sign. And I know the difference is $1.75. So I just found the rule. The rule is, in order to, every time the hour increases, I add, because it increases, so I add $1.75. So now we know what the pattern is, so now we need to keep adding to find the correct term. We need to find this 7 hours right here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take $10.25 and I'm going to start adding $1.75 until I get to my correct term. So let's go ahead and get started with $10.25 or 10.25 hundredths. Either way you say it is correct. And I'm going to add my my pattern here, which is $1.75 or 1.75 hundredths. I'm going to go ahead and add those 5. Oops, got my symbol. 5 plus 5 is 10, so I'm going to regroup my 1, put my 0 down here in the hundredths place, add 7 plus 2, which is 9, plus 1 is 10, so that makes it another 0 down here. Don't forget my decimal, and I want to regroup my 1. And now I can do my ones place. 1 plus 1 is 2. And my tens place, 1 plus nothing is 1. So that leaves me with $12 for 5 hours. But that's not my answer because my question is asking me for the difference, or for 7 hours. So now I'm going to have to go through, I'm going to have to take my 12 again, $12, and I'm going to add again. So I'm going to add another $1.75. This one's pretty easy, isn't it? Line it up. Remember my decimal place. 0 plus 5 is 5. 0 plus 7 is 7. 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 plus nothing is 1. So my next term is $13.75. All right, we're almost there, guys. Now our next term is going to give us how much it costs to rent a canoe for 7 hours. So now I'm going to take $13.75, which I got for 6 hours, and I'm going to add another $1.75. But I'm going to do that one over here. I'm going to use a different color. So $13.75 plus another $1.75. Remember, a good trick if you're confused with the 75s and 50s and 25s, remember a good trick is to just be thinking about quarters, how many quarters you have. But in this case, we'll continue to practice adding it up. 5 plus 5 is 10. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus our regrouped 1 is going to be 15. Can't forget my decimal. 3 plus 1 is 1, or 4, and then my regrouped 1 makes it 5. And then 1 plus nothing is 1. So I have $15.50 as my final answer. Now remember, it's always a good idea to go back and check your math to make sure that you did everything correctly. So I want you guys to make sure that you do that when you're doing these, because it's easy to make a mistake with division, or not with division. Well, it is easy to make a mistake with division, with addition. All right, we're going to look at one other problem really quickly, because the reason I want to look at it is I want you to be thinking about the fact that it's not always going to be an increasing number. If we're looking here at this sequence and I'm looking for the unknown term, the interesting thing is here I have 25 and 7/10, 24 and 1/10, and so on and so forth. And if we're looking at it, the numbers are actually going down each time. So because the numbers are going down each time, I can tell that the pattern is decreasing. All right, so because my pattern is decreasing, I know that my rule with what's happening with this pattern is that I am subtracting. Okay, now what I'm subtracting, I don't know yet, but I do know that I'm subtracting a number each time I get a new term. So I'm going to take 25 and 7/10, and I'm going to take 24 and 1/10, and I'm going to find the difference. Okay, the same way you found the difference with the first problem is the same way we're going to do it with this one. 25 and 7/10 minus 24 and 1/10, 7 minus 1 is going to be 6/10. 5 minus 4 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. So the rule is subtract 1.6, because that's the difference between the two numbers. So in order to subtract 1.6, that's going to get us 22.5. So the reason, the way I was able to get that was I took this term right here and I subtracted my rule, subtract 1.6. So I took away 1.6, I got 22.5, and that fits right into my sequence. All right, it's now time for you guys to take a turn practicing this, and then we will talk more about it tomorrow in class. I do have a word problem that you guys need to answer, and finding the unknown term of the sequence. Please make sure you go back and rewatch any parts of the video that you didn't understand. Make sure you complete your WISC, and we will see you in class.